There it is.
So I give everybody a couple more minutes before we get going here. Looks like we only got 17. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. All right, let's go ahead and just kick this off. Then we'll save some time for the end for questions or comments. Maybe we can get majority of them answered. All right, well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's presentation. As you can see on the title, we're going to go over the DOH plan review process and procedures. We wanted to kick this off in lieu with the new memo that was sent out to allow direct submittal back to the Division of Housing. Hopefully we can clear up any questions or concerns. If you have any comments, please let us know. What I would like to do is go over the presentation first and then save the last bit for questions or comments. If you do have something that you would like to maybe do a placeholder, go ahead and leave a comment in the chat box and we can go over those comments at the end and then try to address everything that we can. If you do unmute yourself, I appreciate it if you keep yourself muted until the end of the presentation, just so we don't get any background noise. And hopefully we can get through this quickly so that we can get to your questions. All right. Okay, so let's get started here. If I can, my button works. There it goes. All right, so today's agenda, we're going to go over the direct submission memo that was sent out last week. We're also going to go over some code updates. We're going to go over the residential and non-residential plan review checklist, on-site inspection items, our Salesforce information plan records, uploading documents and DOH notification, DOH intake and review process, and our fees and invoicing, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up with questions and comments, okay? All right, so the direct submission memo, this is just a summary of the memo itself. It's going to allow the ability for manufacturers to submit direct to the Division of Housing without having to use the third-party agency to do a preliminary review. It's still going to maintain the third-party approval process if the manufacturer continues to use that process. It's also going to maintain our current time goals, which is going to be the 10 and 20 business day turnaround times for our initial reviews. plans that are submitted are going to be allowed to be submitted by certain manufacturers, but in phases, so that we don't get a large influx of plans and create a backlog at the beginning of this process. We would like to prevent the entire process, but we want to do this in phases so that we can limit that chance. Okay. Also, it's going to be a monitoring of the plan review process. If you start submitting direct to us, we're going to evaluate those plans and how they're being submitted. We'll have a process in place that will basically give more like a grading of the plans. If we are getting plans that are being submitted and we're constantly resubmitting plans, then there's going to be a penalty for that. So we'll go ahead and reach out to the manufacturer and have that conversation with the manufacturer to go over the items that we are consistently having issues with. And then we'll go ahead and continue to allow them to submit direct to us and then review the next incoming plans. And if it continues, then we're going to give written notice to that manufacturer that they will have to start using a third-party agency. And if you read the memo, it's until the end of that registration or longer. It just depends on the situation. Okay. All right. Our current codes, just a reminder, we are under the 21 IBC, IRC, IPC, IMC, IFC, or IGC, IECC as amended in rule. We're also under the 2023 NEC. The 2023 NEC will update if the state DORA program adopts a newer version. We don't adopt their same amendments, but we'll just adopt the actual book itself, and we'll make our own amendments as needed. We'll still have the 30-pound snow load minimum, 115-mile-an-hour wind load minimum, but just remember that we do take in consideration local design criteria. So if they're at a 40-pound snow load and 120-pound or 120-mile-an-hour wind load, we are going to enforce those for those locations. What's also new for this year, starting January 1st, is the ICC NBI 1200 series codes. We adopted those as part of our QA/QC factory implant inspection procedures. Also the G6 for panelized construction. We also adopted the Colorado Model Electric and Solar Ready Code. That can be found on the Colorado Energy Office website. If you look at the Colorado Energy Toolkit, there'll be a link there for all of the Model Electric and Solar Ready code requirements. We also, like I said earlier, take into consideration local design criteria for snow, wind, and climatic conditions, fire suppression, and wildfire mitigation. All right, so this is what's going to happen in the future. Some of these most likely will be implementing sooner than later, but right now there are some bills that have been passed or in the process of getting approved or possibly getting approved. But one of the bills that have passed is the accessibility codes. The requirement is going to be we have to have the most current accessibility code adopted and enforced. We also have another bill that's out there. I believe it's SB 25002, which we are going to take on the responsibility of doing regional building codes for manufactured buildings. But some of that is going to take into consideration the fire code and also the wildfire resiliency code that the state has adopted. They haven't finalized their codes yet for the wildfire resiliency code, but that's one of the things that we plan on taking on so that we can maintain a consistency across the board of all manufactured buildings that come into the state of Colorado. Okay. All right, so if you look at this slide here, we should be able to share this slide for everybody, but the residential plan checklist is highlighted here because it's linked to our current checklist. That is being updated at this time with new items for the new code adoptions. But due to state requirements for digital accessibility, we have to make those documents accessible for all users. And so it's taken a little bit of time, but we'll get those posted as soon as possible. Just remember that we are under the 21 codes, and we do have some additional codes that have been adopted and you can refer to administrative rules for reference of what codes have been adopted and what those amendments are. Okay. The other thing that the checklist is going to be updated with is going to be the new electrical and energy requirement document requirements. Okay, there's going to be minimum documentation that's needed for the energy review for both the model electric and solar ready code and also the 21 IECC. All right, the same things for the non-residential, same issues where we have them updated, but they do have to go through the accessibility review, make sure that they are digitally accessible, and then they're also going to reflect the changes for the energy for the model electric and solar ready, and also the 21 energy codes. All right. So this is a big one. I tried to spend as much time as I could on these next two slides for the OC process. I think this is probably the most confusing to manufacturers, and then also to local jurisdictions because they're not sure what exactly OC is. So I wanted to spend a little time in here to kind of get some clarification and see if we can clarify some of these items so that things are easier to, I guess, notate on your plans when you submit them. Okay. So again, the on-site inspection form is linked on this slide. It relates to the durability, quality, and safety of the structure. The manufacturer must submit the form to the Division of Housing if there are OC items that need to be completed on site. It's not the same requirement as its predecessor, the alternate construction requirements. And if you see the difference here, OC items are items that are completed on site for the compliance, site or factory supplied. All right. AC was different. Although it was similar, where the items came from is where it was different. Okay. So AC is any item that was shipped with the unit from the factory to complete the compliance of the unit. So in the past, when a manufacturer did not have an AC item, that would fall under the local jurisdiction for review and approval, okay, because that item would be installed on site and not considered part of the factory built structure program. That changed, I believe, 2 years ago during HB 22-1242 when we adopted the tiny home requirements. We changed that AC to OC in rule, but the statute also changed to include any item that was completed at the site. It was no longer items that were just shipped with the unit. Okay, so if there is anything that is not completed at the factory to complete the compliance of the unit, it has to be, and is going to be completed at the site location, it has to be notated on that OC form. Okay. It doesn't include utility connection. It doesn't include utility work, attached or detached accessory structures, or the foundation system. There might be some other things I'm not that aren't coming to mind that doesn't apply to, but basically anything within that shell and its systems is what's going to be under our jurisdiction, either done at the factory or done at the site location to complete the compliance of that building. Okay. All right, so here's some examples of OC items. So insulation and crawl space, attics, basements, floors, air barrier completion per the air barrier checklist, blower door and duct blower testing. The blower door and duct blower testing can be done at the factory, but typically that's going to be utilized for maybe like a one box unit. Tiny homes are a good example that it's a plug and play model. Everything's done at the factory. It has a completed thermal envelope, completed air barrier. There's nothing that needs to be completed on site, or maybe there might be some things that are completed on site, but it doesn't penetrate the exterior membrane of the building. So a blower door test is possible at the factory, but most likely 2 box units, multiple box units, those are going to have blower door and duct blower tests done at the site location. Okay. Furnace, air conditioning units, roof systems, shingles, plumbing, mechanical vents, dormers, handrail, stairs, fixtures, surge protectors or surge protection, smoke and CO detectors under the floors. It could be fire suppression, rated walls, fire blocking penetrations, fire suppression, wildfire mitigation, plumbing, mechanical, gas piping, expansion devices, and testing. The testing's really going to be related to the plumbing and gas piping, fire suppression, things that need final connections at the site location that have to have tests for those components that are being installed at the site. All right, and then so the next section here is when you are placing these items on the OC form, to be specific. All right, we get some pretty general comments that get a little confusing, especially if a site or if at the site location, the locals decide that they do want to take on the responsibility of doing these inspections. They're getting a little confused. If I was to say we're just going to install installation or insulation, right? Well, where are you installing it? Okay, where am I going to go do the inspection? Is it going to be in the attic? Is it going to be in the basement, crawl space? Where is it going to be at? Is it going to be in the floors? Is it going to be along the walls? Where is it going to be? All right. So just be specific when you put these items in there. So here's some examples. Insulation in the basement at walls and rim board. Complete the WV, water supply, gas supply, or gas systems for floor penetrations to connect to connection or utility connection points. Do final fire suppression connections along the marriage wall line or wherever they may be, and then also do the final test for fire suppression. And then the list goes on. So please look at this list. Like I said, this presentation should be available to you all. But one thing I do want to note is that this list is going to be on the new OC form. So manufacturers, once you are able to download the newer version after it's been reviewed for accessibility, this list will be on there. There will also be the list that's above on the previous slide of examples of OC items. And so you'll have something to refer to when you are actually placing these items on that form. Okay. All right, so now we're going to get into the Salesforce portion here. These are just some general items that we've been running into. Yesenia and Debbie might be able to put a little more input on here later on in the slides if they have anything else. But generally, the records are created good, right? We don't really have too many issues with them. But some of the things that we do run into is missing building and structure type information. So the structure type is the code compliance, so is it IRC, IBC, things like that. Building type is going to be the general use. So if it's IRC single family dwelling, it'll say single family, or I think there's duplex. I believe it also has an item in there that says multiplex. I think we've changed that, although we can't take that off the list. We would like to use multifamily if it is a multifamily structure. Also, the OXB classifications. So there's a lot of different terms that are being used. What we would like you to use, especially if you're building single-family dwellings, is use SFD, so single-family dwelling. If it's being built under the IRC and not R3, unless it is an IBC unit. The reason for that is because when we run reports and we're trying to look at different structure types that are coming through the system, we have to look through all these, and then all the single-family dwellings that are marked R3 might be mixed in with actual multifamily IBC units that are classified as R3. Also, the IRC does not give an OXB classification for single-family dwellings. They're just considered single-family dwellings, all right, under the IRC. So just use SFD when you're putting in your information in the plan review record. Okay. Square footage doesn't match the plans, so there's a lot of times that will go in and the square footage is not consistent with what's in the plan. Sometimes we'll see that the square footage of the finished space doesn't match what was in the plans, and also the plans might mention unfinished space, and the unfinished space is not mentioned on the Salesforce record. The other thing would be code and design information. A lot of mixed information when you compare the code design on the plans and also what was being reported in the Salesforce information. So let's just try to do a better job in getting that information consistent, so that when we're doing our review and we're doing these comparisons between the Salesforce information and the plan itself, that it aligns, so that it eliminates time utilized to fix that and more utilized in trying to get the plan review done in a more timely manner. Okay. All right, uploading and notification. So this is also a little bit of a problem. We do run into quite a few instances where a manufacturer has uploaded plans and did not notify the Division of Housing. Once the plans have been uploaded, and then 2 or 3 weeks down the road, we'll get an email asking, hey, what's taking so long for plan review to get done? I submitted it 3 weeks ago, and then we look through our system and we never got notified. So when you upload a plan, please make sure that you, once you have uploaded all the documents, to send an email to our plans inbox and then notify us there that you have uploaded the plan. Give us the plan review name, and I believe it should already give you a plan review record number, so a PR number, and then we'll be able to locate that information and then put it on our queue so that we can get to it within our goal times. Okay. Let's see here. One other thing too is make sure that you are uploading plans in 2 sets. We have a plan set and a spec set. So if you look at the plan review checklist, there's a plan set requirement, and then there's a spec set requirement. I understand that these larger projects are going to have quite a few documents, and you might have to split those up. That's fine. Just label it plan set and then 1, or plan set A, plan set B, plan set C, whatever, however that you need to do. We do have a maximum size. I believe it's 25 megabytes per document that's being uploaded. So if you need to split that up, go right ahead and do that. Just label them 1, 2, or A, B, and C, however you want to do that. As long as it's clear to us that there's multiple sets for that plan set and multiple sets for the spec set. Okay. And then if you have the smaller documents, please don't combine them, because we want to make sure that we have 2 separate sets, one for the actual structure itself and all the supporting documents in a separate document. Okay. All right. So intake and review. So once you've uploaded the documents and you notified us, our plan reviewers will add the plans to the calendar queue. We'll put them out at the 10 and 20 business days, depending on if it's residential or commercial project. If it's residential, it'll be put out 10 business days from the day that we received it. So even if we received it, let's say on Monday of this week, and we just saw it today, it'll still be counted from Monday, 10 business days out, and put on that calendar. Same thing for commercial structures as well. All right. Resubs, renewals, TPA approvals, and then QA manuals will be set 5 days out. Just remember, as part of that phase process, we're not going to implement the 5 days for the TPA approvals until the last phase. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're building up enough momentum so that once we start getting to the last phase, we can start doing everything as it was before the original memo that was sent out requiring third-party approvals. Okay. The revisions, make sure when you are doing revisions, you're submitting a cover sheet notating what those revisions are. It makes it a lot clearer and a lot more easier for us to find those changes on the plans. If you're doing a renewal, make sure that you submit an affidavit notating that you did not change anything on that plan. We have found in the past that we are getting renewals, and then there are some changes to those plans, and that requires a revision, not a renewal. Okay. Oh, 1 second, I'm gonna mute somebody. All right. The other thing too is for the renewals. Renewals do have an effective date and that starts at the time of your registration, but it also expires when your registration expires. Okay. The other time the plan will expire or not be allowed to be used anymore is if we do a code change. If we do a code change, we do allow 180 days to come into compliance, but the way that process works is that it's 180 days for any plan that has already been approved and already submitted back to the manufacturer for production use. Okay. If you have not submitted a plan and then you submitted a new plan during or after the plan change, or not the plan change, the code change, then you will be required to submit to the current codes. All right. Just remember, anything submitted prior to that and approved prior to that will allow 180 days to come into compliance. So you have 180 days to build that unit without having to renew the plan under the new codes. If you do not build that unit under that 180-day code change allowance, then you'll have to resubmit your plans under the new codes after that 180 days. Now, there are going to be circumstances where you submit a plan and it's more of a lot model that you're building multiple units off of that. That's still fine. You can still build multiple units off that plan as long as it's been approved prior to that 180-day start time. And then you can build those units up to 180 days after that effective date, as long as that plan's been approved. And then if you are still wanting to build plans off that set after the 180 days, then you will have to update the plan for the new set of structures that you're going to be building. Okay. Let's see here. I think that's it. Yep. All right. All right, fees and invoices. So if you look at our administrative rules, Rule 3.2 and 3.4, or through 3.4, we'll have our list of fees for plan reviews. Some new fees that were added was the second resubmission fee. So if we have to resubmit your fee for a second time or more, we are going to charge you a fee for that. Revision fees are new. If you looked at our old rules, it was based off of square footage, but how do you do a square footage revision fee for changes for like electrical and plumbing or things like that, right? So we changed that revision fee. It's going to be an hourly fee, minimum $50, and then any additional hour after that is going to be an additional $50. Okay, so if it's a 2-hour fee or 2-hour revision review, then it's going to be $100. If it's 3 hours, $150, and it keeps going and going. Okay, but if it's an hour or less, then we'll charge just the minimum $50 fee. All right, once we have received your notification that the plans have been uploaded and ready for review, an invoice will be sent to you for payment. We will not start the review until we receive that payment. We'll still put it on the calendar. But if we get to your date and that fee has not been paid, we may send you a heads up like, hey, you need to pay this if you want me to do the review today. And if we still have not received that payment, then we're going to put it out an additional 10 to 20 business days. Okay. The plan review will start after we receive the payment on the day that it's put on the calendar. Like I said, and then the revisions that have been approved will not be uploaded until payment is received. So if we get revisions submitted to us, we'll go ahead and do the revision. But if the fee has not been paid yet, that plan will not be uploaded for you to use. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're getting paid for our services, and then make sure that we're getting that done in a timely manner. So please, once you receive that invoice, try to pay it as soon as possible so that we can get things done in a timely manner. Second resubmission, that fee will be invoiced after our review. Or sorry, not the second resubmission. The second resubmission will be submitted to you after the review. So if we do a second resubmission, an invoice will be sent to you for the second resubmission review fee. And then once you resubmit that back to us, if that fee has not been paid, we'll still put it on the calendar. But if it's not paid by the time that we get to the review, then it's going to be pushed an additional 5 days. If we get revisions, the hourly rate will be invoiced after we're done with the review, so we get a more accurate invoice instead of invoicing you a minimum fee and then we find out it's longer than that and then have to invoice you again for an additional fee. Okay, So the revision fee will be invoiced after the review has been done. All right. Okay, and that's it. So questions and comments. Was there any comments in the comment box, Sam?
No, there have not been any comments in the comment box
Okay.
or questions.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we
Hi
can.
there. Hi there. Thanks for all of your help on providing this overview. I submitted some commercial plans last Tuesday, the 18th. Do I need to do a new OC form for those?
Well, it just depends. If you submitted an OC form already, and the items aren't clear, it might be a good idea to submit an updated OC form
Okay.
to clearly reflect what's going to be done on site. Maybe check with our plan reviewers if you email the plan review inbox and
Okay.
see when we're actually going to get to you. You might have some time to get that in there prior to our review. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
One thing I did forget to mention as part of this process for the phases for allowing direct plan submittal. We do have old documentation of an old scoring system of how the Division of Housing was auditing plans. We're going to revamp that, and we're looking for some manufacturers who would like to participate in that revamp process to make it more consistent with how things are being currently done. And then also make sure that across the board, everybody understands that the way that the auditing process is going to be done for these direct submittals is going to be consistent. And I think as much input as possible will help make this document a lot better document than it is currently is. Okay. So if you would like to participate in that as a manufacturer or even as a third-party agency, please reach out to me. And then once we get working on that document, we'll send a draft for review to you all, and then submit your comments and questions, or if you want to make some edits, maybe we'll put a process together to come up with a way to make changes for that document. Okay. But I just want to throw that out there before we close this out. I totally forgot to mention that in the beginning. Is there any other questions or concerns that you all had for us?
Donnie, did you want to talk about maybe the phases and why we're phasing in a little more detail?
Yeah, so the phase process, there's going to be 3 phases. Our initial phase is going to start April 1st. That phase is going to allow certified manufacturers to submit to us. I have to relook at the memo and make sure I'm recalling these ones correctly, but it's going to be certified FB and FBNR manufacturers, I believe. They're going to be allowed to submit direct to us at the start. And then there's going to be about a 3-month wait there to allow us to get acclimated with the new flow of plans and the process of processing these plans in a timely manner. And then we'll go ahead and open it up to, I believe it is the.
Hang on, I'll put it in the chat, Donnie.
Okay.
Here's phase 1. Here's phase 2.
Okay, so yeah, certified manufacturers, FB and FBNR and tiny homes. And then certified multifamily manufacturers, registered FB, FBNR, multifamily, and tiny home manufacturers will continue to use third-party agencies for preliminary review. And that's going to be during the first phase, starting April 1st. Okay. Once we get to the second phase, we do have a target date. We're hoping that we can keep that the same date. We'll just see how these plans go during the first phase. If needed, we might be able to push that out, or if things are going smoothly, we might be able to start that sooner. but it just depends on how things are going through the phases. Okay. During the second phase, registered FB and tiny home manufacturers can then submit directly to us. It does not include multifamily or registered FB&R manufacturers. Those manufacturers would have to submit direct to the third-party agency prior to submitting to us. And then the last phase is going to allow everybody to submit direct to us. And that's going to start October 1st. At least that's our target date. Okay. There's going to be a 3-month gap in between each phase so that we can slowly get integrated the direct submittal process back to us, and then make sure that we're processing them in a timely manner. Again, during these phase process and after the phase process, the evaluation process is going to take place. So we're going to try to get that document revamped as soon as possible so that everybody's on the same page of what's going to be needed, or what's going to be part of that grading process for those plans once they've been submitted to us. Okay. And it looks like Amanda, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious. I may have missed it, but are the plan review per square footage costs going to be going back to what they previously were before the third-party review change was in place?
Yes. So currently the fees for plan reviews have not changed other than some new fees that were added. But because we are allowing it to be directly submitted back to us, we're doing a complete review. It's no longer a screening of the third-party plan review. Okay, so we are spending more time in that plan to make sure that it complies with our requirements. So we will charge, I believe it's 25 cents per square foot for finished space, and then I believe it's 10 cents or 15 cents for unfinished space. But those fees will be implemented when you start submitting direct to us. Okay, the TPA fee, the third-party agency fee, will remain the same throughout the entire process, even after. That's not going to change if you're submitting a third-party approved plan to us. I believe it's the 15 cents per square foot. I might be wrong. It might be the 10 cents. I have to look at the rules again. Sorry, but it's one of those two fees.
Thank you.
Donnie, I'm putting the fee schedule in the chat too. Well, the adopted rules, and rule 3 is the fee. And I think you're right. I think it's 25 cents a square foot and 15 cents a square foot for unfinished.
Yeah. So please review the rules. It's rule 3, 3.2 through 3.4. There'll be those sections will be the plan review fees. Okay. Any other questions? No. Like I said, I believe we can share this slide. I also believe that we're also going to share this webinar on our webpage, so that you can get back to it and refresh yourself if there's something that you may have forgotten. But always remember, you can reach out to me. My information's on this next page. Here it goes right here. You can always reach out to me. My email is right there. I prefer the email. I get back to emails a lot sooner than voicemails. The voicemails build up pretty quick, and I try to get back to them throughout the day, but the emails tend to be something that I get back to a lot sooner. Okay, so if you can, please email me. It's donnie.featherman@state.co.us. Also here on this slide here is our main webpage for our factory built website. Okay. All righty, I think we can close it out.
All right, well, I'm going to turn off the recording.